Hello, my friends, and welcome back to class here in Online Human Anatomy and Physiology 2. So, what you are watching in front of you is real video footage of a cytotoxic T cell killing a cell infected by a pathogen. You see, when a cytotoxic T cell finds an infected cell, it forms a connection to that cell called the cytoplasmic bridge. And through this bridge, the cytotoxic T cell delivers enzymes that create holes in the infected cell's membranes, killing and absorbing the cell. And so that brings us to our concept and main theme for this module, which is going to be learning about the human immune system or the lymphatic system. You see, the human body has two main types of immune responses that we're going to investigate as a model for how the body maintains its homeostasis and prevents the invasion of a variety of different pathogens ranging from viruses, bacteria, fungi, and even parasites. The human body has two major responses: innate immunity and adaptive immunity. Innate immunity is the body's first line of defense against pathogens. It uses physical barriers like our skin and mucous membranes, and chemical and cellular defenses like macrophages and neutrophils that engulf and destroy the pathogens, as seen here. But we are also seeing elements of the adaptive immunity, a more specific and targeted response that develops over time utilizing lymphocytes, B and T cells that recognize specific pathogens and produce antibodies that bind and neutralize the pathogen and directly kill the infected cells and coordinate the human immune response. Furthermore, we can break these down into different concepts such as active, passive, and neutral, and even artificial immunities, as they interact in various ways. For example, vaccinations will induce artificial active immunities by simulating the immune response. In contrast, passive immunity will be preformed antibodies that provide immediate but temporary protection. Okay, so one of the big overarching concepts that we are going to encounter this week in our studies dealing with the lymphatic system here in Online Human Anatomy and Physiology 2 is that it's all about pathways and feedbacks. The lymphatic system is part of the immune system. It helps keep the body fluids in balance and defends the body from infection. You may actually take note on a quick observation that when we take a look at the lymphatic system here using our OER resource, innerbody.com, we can notice that with the green lines all throughout the body and then the organ structures, that this body system is very much like that of the cardiovascular system. You see, the cardiovascular system is all about being a highway, but it interacts with the same pathways that the lymphatic system uses, the veins and arteries and wherever basically a liquid can be found in our body. And that's very important because both the cardiovascular system and the lymphatic system are all about distribution. Cardiovascular system wants to be able to move red blood cells and oxygen and nutrients around the body, whereas the lymphatic system wants to be able to move white blood cells, also known as lymphocytes, along with lymph material all around our bodies to be able to protect it from infection and help maintain a homeostatic condition, basically an equilibrium or balance that our bodies need to have for us to safely navigate the world around us. Within our intestines will actually excrete what they call chyle as we process food. And the lymphatic system also works as basically a janitor for the body and helps clean that up. So that way it does not pollute our body and allows us to absorb proteins in this body system. And this is very important because water, proteins, and other substances are always leaking out of us. And then when they leak, they come into contact with things that will make us sick. And that's where the lymphatic system comes into play. And again, it works as um, a lining to protect us. Now, what's in the lymphatic system? There's actually some organs and structures that you'll want to be able to dissect and identify this week and learn more about, and that organs and tissues are part of this. You may have already started to read up on some of this in other parts of the class and start to build that connection. But when we look at this 3D model, again, you can see all the pathways located in green. I will zoom in right here. But these little green balls that are all connected, I'm going to move the model to be a little bit more cephalic so we can look from the top down. But around the neck, you'll see a concentration around the abdomen and even here in the armpits. These are going to be lymph nodes. Maybe if you've gotten really sick, you put your hands up to your neck and you'll start to feel hard nodules. Those are your lymph nodes, and these are clumps of tissue along the lymph vessels, which are going to be the small thin lines. And these are overreacting. They are allowing for white blood cells to move around and work in overtime to get rid of any harmful viruses, bacteria, and fungi that may have infiltrated your body. Within this body system, we also have stuff like bone marrow that's going to help produce not just red blood cells, but certain types of white blood cells. We have a thymus gland, seen right here in blue, and that helps make and control the immune system and produce what they call T cells. And the T cells are a very important type of white blood cell that's used to identify harmful material in our body. Our tonsils, seen right here, the right palatine tonsil, and left palatine tonsils are very important structures to take a look at. Will also help produce and interact with the lymphatic system. They essentially try to keep stuff that enters our mouth out from entering our body. We also have a spleen that helps with filtering. And we also have a veniform appendix as humans. It's a vestigial feature, at least according to some anatomists, but on a physiological aspect, it does help regulate our lymphatic system. And that's very important for us to be able to understand, explain, and even describe as we work through different parts of this week's lesson. We also need to think that this is much like our cardiovascular system. It deals with a lot of pathways found in the chest, the abdomen, even the pelvis. And their main goal is to filter out blood. The T cells will go out and locate issues in our bodies. The B cells will help the body fight against the infection. So the T cells spot things, B cells attack them, and keep our bodies safe. And so when we think about it, when someone has an infection, the germs are being collected and destroyed within those glands. And so we need to, I like to structurally organize this body system into, into two parts, but really for the purposes of the class, we've got to think about it on the vesicle level, is that there's also not just the nodes and the organ structures, but vessels like tubeways, like your thoracic duct, which begins near the lower part of the spine. So it's going to be right in here. And then a right lymphatic duct, which can be found in here. And so really that's what your goal this week, at least for the dissections, is to take a look at some of the structures present in this body system and quiz yourself and be able to practice on making those identifications. And another skill set that can be very helpful for those that are learning anatomy and physiology and the identification of structures is by taking a look at the histology of these different parts of the lymphoid system. The lymphoid system, again, is the body system that works as our immune system to protect the body from pathogens, such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, and even parasites, along with disease cells that might be infected by a virus or starting to develop into a tumor that's cancerous growth. Our body systems work as a cause and effect pathway system. And it even shares our cardiovascular system. And when we look at how this body system is organized, we can organize it utilizing the organs and tissues that are functionally unified, using a primary lymphoid system and then a secondary lymphoid system. The primary lymphoids are going to be your central lymphoid organs, where these are the sites where the lymphocytes will mature and then start to disperse into your secondary lymphoid organs and will become dormant until a event in which an infection does occur and then disperse outwards. Keep in mind that keeping it organized, such as primary and secondary, will be very helpful in your studies this week. And that all of these structures, or at least a majority of them, are mucosa associated, meaning that they will have that mucosa soft tissue that we discussed earlier in the class. And so I want to be able to show you some of these. I'm using our virtual microscope slide set where there are some very good high resolution slides where you can go and learn and investigate the microanatomy of different structures found in this body system, such as we can take a look at the lymph nodes here. This is a lymph node, and we can take a look and find things like capsules, the capsular sinus, trabeculae, and different nodules. There's a cortex present. And being able to identify these structures as if they are isolated will be very helpful in your studies this week. I recommend taking a look at the lymph node, your tonsils, such as the palatine tonsils. We can see some wonderful stratified squamous, non-keratinized, meaning it's soft, epithelia, seen right here. Look at that layering. And then see on how the lymph nodules are covered by that tissue. Here are some cool lymphocytes found throughout this sample. Even zoom in. I'd also recommend taking a look at the spleen. Here's some red pulp, and this red pulp actually works as a filter. And then, of course, the most important structure within this body system is that of the thymus. There's some of those T lymphocytes that I was telling you about, and you can identify them because they have a small nuclei and they're very condensed and dense compared to other cells that we have studied throughout this course. And you can use the little 1 and 2 to cycle through different structures. as we zoom out. But it would be very good and helpful to learn more about this body system, not just on the gross anatomy side by looking at um, the lymph passageways and the organ structures, but also take a look at the histology behind it. So again, if you have any questions about this week's material, please reach out. I can set up a video chat, an email, or you can even swing by my office and we can discuss this body system and the pathways it takes to be able to keep our bodies safe in the world around us.